You know me, I met you 5 minutes ago. First, I want to thank Dave and Kathy janszcak for hosting. Can I give them a round of applause? I think everything turned out beautifully. I want to thank my family for being here. And for the people that don't know me that well, I'm going to keep this short. Please don't judge me by my dancing skills. And thanks for being here on the happiest day of my life.
And then I just have a couple little small things to say. Obviously, you're all here, and I thank you all for being here and being a part of our special day. I know it wouldn't be the same without you all. And a special thank you to my aunts. You all know who you are. If you would please stand up, I'd like to give you all a little congratulations for helping me make my dream wedding. I couldn't have done it without you. And a special thank you to my mom and dad for putting up with my shit, I guess. Through the thick and thin, I may have broke my dad's back, but my love will always be with you guys, and just thank you very much. I don't want to say anything more. I'm going to start to cry.
You better clap now because I didn't have any time to make a speech or write anything, so I'm going to have to wing it. And I look around at all this and I'm like, wow. You know, this turned out really cool, and thanks for everybody for coming. But I never thought that I would ever see shoes like this until I was 85, 90 and lived in Florida. And believe me, they are not comfortable. So, really, and this has been the week from hell because basically we have one short tree and 3 long trees. And that again is my fault because somehow or another it got blamed on me because no matter what, it gets blamed on me. So I'd really can go back to those little posts coming up to the cross thing. Number 1, the posts were supposed to be 1 1/4 inches in diameter, and they ended up being 1 1/2 to 1 3/4 because that's just the way birch is, you know. But that didn't seem to make it either. And I almost had to go back in the woods for 5 hours and find other ones, but I kind of stalled off until the very end, and then they used them anyway, even though I heard a lot about them. So, realistically, if you can find fault with anything here, blame it on me because everybody else does. Now, I'll get back to Casey. Casey, you're awesome now, but the shit we went through years ago. It all started out when, it's actually Nate's fault, because Nate was about 2.5, 3, and he started to talk, and he wanted a little blonde sister with blue eyes. Well, somehow or another, he had a little sister that had kind of darkish, reddish, dark hair. She came home from the hospital, and he wanted us to take her back. So, realistically, we couldn't do that. So we were kind of stuck with her. So, afterwards, her hair turned real blonde, and then it was fine with Nate, and then Nate started playing with Barbies because she was doing Barbies. So, you know, He may say that she followed him, but he did get one bad Barbie doll. It lasted about 5 minutes, and he ripped the legs and the arms off it, and that was the end of it. So together, they really were a challenge. You know, Casey started out, she was a real tomboy. Her haircut was just like Nate's. And by the way, he wanted his just like mine because he saw a high school picture when I had a flat top. So he wanted that, so we had to take him to Russ's barber shop because he's the only one that knew how to do flat tops. He got that. Well, then Casey wanted a flat top. No. Well, realistically, Casey she was a doll. She was unbelievable, really good, till she got in high school. Then it all began. She started to be a jock because her brother was a jock, okay? So, I mean, before high school, let me back up a little bit. She was probably 8 years old, and her cousins were probably 12, and Nate was probably 12, and the Bruley boys were probably about that age. And then I can blame it all on her Chauncey because he's the one that got him interested in football. Well, they'd play football, and Casey would come and play football with them. Well, we'd look out of the window, and they'd give Casey the ball on purpose, and then they'd all tackle her. I mean, and sometimes we thought she's never getting up. She got up again, they give her the ball again, and just beat the shit out of her. But she kept going back and going back. Well, then she got in high school, and she started doing all these other things, and then she got in college, and it got worse. She got three concussions and a blown knee. But she's hung in there. She just stays with it. And then all of a sudden, she turned out to be this really, really beautiful girl. But, I don't know what happened. Must take after her dad. So, we went a little back up a little bit when she was such a tomboy that when she was 12, and she'd go hunting with me when she was 6 years old, and when she was 9, she wanted to shoot a deer, and I said, you have to be 12. And she said, puts her hand on her hip and looks at me like this. She says, well, Dad, who's to say I sit there with you? Who's to say who pulls the trigger and who's got the gun? I'm like, that's a good deal. Who's ever going to know, who shot it? So she shot her first deer, a great big 9-point buck, I believe it was, and she was like 9 years old. So anyhow, she got to be 12, so she went hunting with us. So her brother Steve buys her a new knife. Well, that was really something. So once she had a new knife, I believe we got 4 deer that opening morning, and we had walkie-talkies, and every time somebody would shoot, it was like, did you get him? Did you get him? Yeah, I'll be right over. She gutted every deer for us, and it was the greatest thing ever because I never had to do anything anymore. Casey was always there to gut the deer because she wanted to be a veterinarian, so that really was her bag. So with it, we sharpened her knife and just let her go at it. It was pretty good. So anyhow, she got to be this real talented, art type thing, which really made things really difficult for getting ready for this wedding because everything had to be, there was my way, which was the right way, and then there was their way, which sometimes worked and sometimes didn't. But I'm really happy that everything worked out, and I'm really glad that she's home for a little while, and I really love her, and I will really miss her. And the best thing I can tell you is when she was that little blonde girl with the big blue eyes, she was about 2 years old, and we had a big reclining chair, and she used to sit with me every night in that reclining chair and snuggle, and I'd tell her stories, and every night she'd do that. And one night I said, well, I'm going to miss it when you're snuggling when you get older. She said, Dad, when I get married, I'm going to tell my husband I'm going to go do the laundry, and I'm going to come over and snuggle you. That's exactly what she said. So, Casey, I'm going to hold you to that. I don't have that recliner anymore, but we can use the couch. Okay? And Dustin, I'd like to welcome you into this family. You don't know what you're in for.